Today we are going to learn how to design a login screen. There is a complete playlist for the login screen which I have already built. You can check that out. Link is there in the description. Today what is special here? We are going to design with glass morphism effect. That's a very good concept. You can see the design which are going to build. So without wasting any time, let's get started. Now here I have created a new project which is cleared up. I have cleared up everything from the HTML, from the CSS and from the TS file also. Let me just show you properly. We only have the iron content here that we are going to use. Let me get back. And in our iron content, I have given full screen to be true. That's what we need at first. And within this iron content, I'm going to give a background. Now within this assets folder, we will have an imgs folder. You will just see it in a flash. There we go. You can see the imgs folder and we have the background color here. Not a color, it's an image. That's what we are going to use in our homepage CSS file into our iron content in this particular way. Dash dash background, where we can pass any color. Instead of passing any color, let me directly pass the image. So the image URL will be this particular one. Okay, now we need to align it properly. It's not looking that nice. And in order to do that, so background repeat, no repeat, and position will be centered up and it will be a cover image. Now I think it's looking nice, right? There we go. So we have achieved this design, and if you want to pass any color also, you can simply go for this particular one, like dash dash iron color. Let's say dark, you want to pass the dark color in this particular way. Hardly will make any difference here. If you're passing an image, you don't need to pass any color. So you can just skip that and see the design is the same. Let's get back to our HTML file, and here within the iron content, I'm going to use an iron card here. So it will be imported automatically since we are using the standalone project. Within the iron card, let me have a form, and within this form, I'm going to pass an item in which the lines will be none, and I'll pass a class in which I can pass iron margin horizontal and margin top. Just align it properly, and there you go. You can just check this out. Okay. All right. Great. Now within this iron item, I will pass an iron input here. Now without iron item also, the latest input will work pretty nicely. Okay. But still I'm putting it up into an iron item, which will look nice. I'll just explain you why I'm doing so. And in order to explain you properly, let me just get it outside of the iron item and comment it up for the time being. Within this iron item, iron input actually, let me pass certain properties. This will be the properties that I'm going to have. Now label placement will be floating, type will be email, and form control name will be email, but we haven't passed any form group as of now. So let's design it up for the form group, then we will get to the other part of the design. Okay, so for doing that, I'll have a form here. I'll give a not symbol as it defines that this will not be an empty one. It will have some value, but that value won't be defined here. Okay, otherwise it will give me an error. Now I'll just import it. If I don't give this, just check it out. It's giving an error. Okay, that's why it is important to pass. Now within the constructor, I'm going to call a function called init form, which I'm just going to define, and this will be the function that I'm going to have, in which this dot form will be equals to new form group, where I'll pass this email and password, and it will be equals to new form control. This is how we define a form. And validators also, what all validators I am using. Initial value I have just given as empty. It will be an empty string, and the validators I have passed is as required field. So it will be a required field, and it will be of type email for the email one. And for the password minimum length, I have given it of 8. That means if you don't pass 8 characters long password, it will not accept it. That's what we have done. Since our form is ready, we can go ahead, and in the home page, what I'm going to do is, in the form, I'm going to pass the form group. In this way will be equals to form. Now, in order to use it in the TS file, I need to do one more thing. I need to pass here reactive forms module, which is important for using the form group. Once we do that up, our error will go away and we are good to use it properly. Now, what all things I have given here? Label placement. I have not given any label. Remember that. Type will be email and form control will be email. I have just passed the same name that we passed in the form group one. Placeholder I have passed here, and if there is any error, then error text will be called. Now here you don't see anything. If I just click on it, you just see the placeholder is showing up, but not the label. Why? Because we haven't done anything for the label as such right now. But now I'm going to do that. Within the ion input, I'm going to define the ion label. Not the ion label, it will be the label that we can modify as per our requirement. Why? Because we can't do it directly. If I pass a label here in this particular way, any text, see, it will come, but we cannot pass anything. Say like I want to pass an asterisk symbol to define that this is an important field. We can't do that there. So in order to achieve that kind of a label, I need to pass within this ion input, we can pass something like the div whose slot will be label, and it will hold the label tag of email, and within the ion text, which is imported automatically. And I've given a color of danger and pass the asterisk symbol. Now you just check it out. It is showing up. And if I click on it, it's working, right? But it is not aligned properly and the stuff is not looking great. But the biggest problem here is if I want to have some button here, then it won't be aligned in a proper way. Let me just show you. I'm going to pass a button here. We can do that also. I'll just pass slot to be end. Let me import that also. Okay. So now what happens is this, we don't have it here. We need to go to app.components.ts file. I have already explained you. I hope you remember in the earlier videos so many times. This is how we add the icons in our standalone project. Mail outline. And if you don't see the import options or the suggestion, then directly pass it here, mail outline from ion icons / icons. The next time you import something, it will detect automatically. Let's get back to our HTML file here, or the TS file actually we need to go to. Let's get there. Okay, now you see this particular icon is coming up, or the button is coming up, which is holding the icon. But if we align it in the start position, let me just show you at the start position. If I do that up, just check this out. The floating label is showing up, and below that we see the icon, which I don't want actually. That is why this problem is coming up. If you want to have this kind of a design, then it's not going to be great. So you have to define it outside of the ion input within the ion item. So let me just uncomment it, pass it here, and pass this particular input within this ion item. Now you just check it out. This is coming up pretty nicely, right? Okay, great. It's looking nice. That's what we need to implement. And that is why you need to understand what kind of a design you're looking for, and accordingly plan your tags, which one to use. Okay, but still ion input is standalone pretty nicely working with all the stuff that was needed earlier on with the ion item. Now here in the ion item, I have not given margin bottom because in the next ion item, which I'm going to have for our, which one? The password one, right? There I'm going to use ion margin directly, which will have the margin top also. So let's define that also. We need the ion input here too. So this is the stuff which I have just passed here for the ion input. Let me just show you properly. We have our ion item where I have passed margin. I've already explained. And within the ion input, we have the ion label here. And the type is password. I have passed because I'm going to work around with this with some conditional stuff. That is why I've just passed in this particular way. Otherwise, you can directly pass type. Not brackets are not required. And placeholder we have passed here. Then a form control name is password, same as the earlier one. Now with the error text, you can play around with. You can just check if the form dot get password. This is how you get the password value. And this not symbol is required to show that this is not empty. If I remove it up, you might get some error at some point or the other. Or in fact here, you are getting an error just like this. So wherever you're getting an error, just pass this not symbol that defines that this won't be an empty one. When we get the value of password, it will check for has error. If we have an error such as min length, which we defined as the 8-character string in our TS file, if you remember, this is where we have done. This is the one, right? So If it's not 8 characters long, then we are going to show this particular error. Password must be of minimum 8 characters long. Otherwise, the default one will be enter a proper password for validation one. Hope it's clear to you. That's what we have done here. And same in this particular case also, we are passing a password label with an asterisk symbol, which is showing up here pretty nicely. Now we have an iron button also, which is passed at the very end in the iron item for the I outline. So we don't have the I outline imported. We are going to do that up since we are using standalone one. If you're using ng modules project, don't need to go for anything. It will be coming up automatically. Now, one more button I will be needing. Let me place that here in the iron item. Then I'm going to do for both of them. So which is the one which I need here? This is the one, the key outline one. Like the one we have for the email, we will have the key outline one too. And then I'm going to go to app.component.ts file, pass a comma, key outline. Along with that, I'm going to have I outline. Also, I of outline will be used, and I'm going to tell you where I'm going to use it. But for the time being, you can just see the design is looking lovely, right? After doing that, let's jump back to our HTML part again. Since we have designed the basic stuff, now we need a button too. And in order to get our button within the iron card, after this iron item, I'm going to define a div here. So this will be my div where I will pass an iron margin and a class of submit, because we are going to design this up a little bit more. Now within the iron button that I'm going to use here, I'll pass expand to be block and size to be large size, because the button size I want it to be large. And along with that, you can work with iron text here, because I want this to be of this text which I'm passing, because it will be bold by default and it will be auto caps for Android one, which I don't want. That is why I'm doing it in this particular way. If you don't want to pass it strong here, if I pass strong directly to my iron button, will it be implemented here? Let's check it out. I'll just cut this, log in. No, actually it's not getting implemented. That is why I did it in this particular manner. I'm explaining you each and everything so that you understand each and everything properly, even if you're a beginner too. Now we have got the button also. Forget password is left. So let's work on that too. For the forget password, after the iron item, I'm simply going to pass a div. Iron text right will be used to align the text towards the right side, and I'll give some margin horizontal to align it properly, and a color of light will not be nice. Actually, I'll pass a color of, let's say, dark for the time being. Otherwise, it won't be visible to you. Okay, so it's properly aligned now. What next I need to do is I need to play around with the designing part of it, right? So let's jump to our CSS part in order to design it up. Okay, one thing is left. Actually, I need a logs button also at the top, which will be showing up that this is the login screen. Now, in this form group, I'll have it at the top. Where is it? This will be my design. All right, where in this div, I'm passing the text to be at the center. So the icon will be at the center, and margin vertical I have given at the top and bottom, and a class of log, which we are going to use it for designing purpose. Now I'll go again back to app.component.ts file and pass here log closed. That's what I need to use, and you will see a closed log icon showing up. Now, few more things before going to the CSS part we need to implement here is, first of all, for the password one, I have used a button here where I'm passing I outline, but I need to change that because this particular one, if I'm typing here something, it is showing up in the password manner, right? If I want to change it to text one, what I need to do is, well, I'll be using here is pwd. That's a property that I'm going to just have it. Okay, if it is true, then I will have I of outline. Otherwise, the I outline will show up. And same goes in the case of type 1 also. I'll check the same stuff, is pwd. If it is true, then the type will be text. Otherwise, it will be password. Okay. Now, when it's going to change, whenever I click on this button. So I'll give a click event here. And in this click event, toggle pwd. That's the function I'm going to use. Let's jump to our TS file and define it up. So here I'm going to have it toggle pwd function, within which what am I going to do? I will need to have actually pwd, which will be initialized to false. Okay, because it will be a boolean value, and here is pwd will be equals to not of this dot is pwd. That means whatever, if it is true, it will become false. If it is false, it will become true. That's how it's going to work. So let me just show you an example. If I type something here, if I click on it, see, it is changing. Even we can see the text also, and the error is also coming up, right? So our form validation is properly working. If you just check this out, it is also working. And in order to check it properly, what am I going to do? I'm going to pass a click event to our login button also. So on click of it, I will submit the form. So let me pass the function name to be on submit, and this will be defined here. Now the functionality is pretty simple. This on submit function, I will first check if the form is valid or not. So if form is invalid, then I'm going to mark all as touched. So all the fields will be touched. So we get the errors everywhere. And after that, I'm going to simply return, because I'm not going to go ahead and do any other stuff. Otherwise, I'll just log the form value. Now, just to show you the demo, if I click here, just check it out. All the errors are showing up directly because they are touched. That's what it means. And if you pass on some values, say like techniques@gmail.com, and pass a password, say like 1 2 3 4 5 6 7, even still we got the error. If I pass 8, it's gone. And now I'll show you the logs. This is the log, and now if I click here, you see the value is coming up. Okay, which was not the case if I have some error here. That's how it is working. So our form validation is working properly. It's time to go ahead and work with the designing part of it. Let's get to our home page, CSS file, SCSS actually, and work with that. So within the Ion content, I'm going to work with the Ion card here, to which I will pass box shadow to be none. I don't want to pass any box shadow here. And border radius of 20 pixel will be fine. So it looks lovely here. The next thing, I'm going to transform it in Y direction by, I think 40% or 35%. 35% will be good. Let's try. Okay, 40% will be fine now, right? I hope it's fine, because we will have the bigger design a little bit more. After that, we will check it out later on. Now, after doing this, I'm going to pass the background color of it to be this particular one. Okay. After I pass this color, still you can see this is just looking as an opacity, but not the glass effect. How to apply the glass effect now? In order to apply the glass effect, I'm going to use backdrop filter, where I'm going to pass the blur function. This is very important, and in which you can pass how much pixel of blur you want. So I've given as 8 pixels. Now you just check it out. It's giving you the glass effect. If I just comment it, just check it out now, the design. Okay. So design is little different. If you give the blur effect, it becomes a little different. Okay. You can even change this as per your requirements, say like 12%, 12 pixels or more than that or something. So play around with these two stuff and you're good to go. Mostly the blur one is very much important for having the glass effect. Hope it's clear. So we have the glass effect here working pretty nicely. Now we need to work with other design stuff, which will give us the actual result that we are looking for. So let's start off with this particular log icon. I'm not liking the design, so I'm going to fix that. So I'll work directly with the log class, which we have already defined for the div. And in that, I'm giving a font size of 5 rem because I want it to be bigger. And if icon color, I have changed it to this particular color. Now it is looking fine. Same as our background color one. Okay, what's the next thing I want to implement here? Let's check it out. I'm going to work around with this iron items actually. I'm not liking that too. Let's change that. So within the iron item, I'm going to pass at first the border radius of 10 pixels. Now it is looking nice. And an iron input font size of 0.9 rem so that it looks a little smaller. If I don't pass it, just check it out by default. It's going to take little bigger one, which I don't want. So that is why I'm just fixing the font size here. Now I want to apply 0.9 rem for this forget password also. So what am I going to do is, let me cut this. I'll get it outside of the iron item here and comma iron text, not exactly iron text. Let me give a class here, then it will be great. So to the HTML, for the forgot password, let me pass a class here, fwd, okay, so that I can access it directly. Dot fwd, and it will be done, right? If you just check it out, just click on it and hover on this or click this, you will see this is the font size. If I don't apply it, it's smaller and it's becoming bigger now. So that is how it is working. Great. Font size is done. And I need to change the color also. What am I going to do here is, for this fwd class, let me pass color to be white color. Will that be good? Yeah, I think so. It's looking fine. Or in fact, if you don't want that, I think light color will also be fine. So to this iron, okay, dark color instead of dark, I'll pass the light color. I think that will be better. Yeah, light color is fine to work with. So I'll keep it in that way. That's great. This is also done. Now, only part that is left is this particular button, the last final button we need to work with. Let's get that done too. So what exactly I need to do with this particular button is, I want some margin at the top side, and also I want to change the background to have some linear gradient color. In order to implement that up within the iron card, I'm going to work with this submit class that I have defined here. This is a submit class which I'm going to work with. Let's work on that. So in the submit class for the iron button, I'm going to pass a linear gradient of this particular color towards the right side from left to right. And this is looking lovely here, isn't it? And I've given us some margin top. Let me just pass it here. That will be great. Margin top of 2 rem, which will look nice. And the iron text size of 1 rem. If you want bigger, you can simply pass it here, say like 1.2 rem, and it will get bigger as per your requirement. And we can check it in some other phones also, say like iPhone 13. Let's check it out here. It's looking a little bigger. Great. I think I'm liking it. In fact, we can change this one to be 1 rem. Just check it out. As bigger as you want, you can just have it here. Okay. Completely your choice. But I think 0.9 was good. So I'll keep it in that way. And in fact, this one is 1 rem will be fine to work with. So this is looking simple and great. So finally, we have achieved the design that we were looking for, and we have implemented the glass effect also into our application. I hope you like this video. If you like this video, make sure you hit the like button and do subscribe to the channel if you're new here. Also do check our courses. Links are there in the description waiting for you to enroll. Go and check that right now. Thank you.